your teachings become the foundation for all generations of people in ISKCON, for, as I said, for as long as it goes. And that's good. That means everybody. How many people did Prabhupada initiate? Anybody know? I happen to know because I know the lady who keeps the Prabhupada disciples database updated.
Around 5,000.
Not even that, believe it or not. At the last count, how come it's blanking out here? Technology, it's great when it works. Oops, here we gotta go back. Oh. Yeah, 4,000, last count, it was 4,780. And she's still searching, for people that may have been initiated, but it wasn't recorded. I mean, it was wild in those days, so not everything was very neatly recorded, right? Okay, this means I got to keep talking until the technology comes back. So yeah, Prabhupada he's not just the spiritual master of, less than 5,000 disciples, but he's the foundational spiritual master of all we all have the same identity. We're all Prabhupada Nugas. Yeah. Doesn't matter what generation you are. So I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding, so that's not controversial. Good. You got it. Okay. Now, what's to prevent that from blanking out again? Maybe it has jet lag like me, no?
No, we kept the battery.
Okay. Oh, okay. Uh-oh. Now I'm going out. Here we go. See, it always works in rehearsal. We did a little rehearsal yesterday, but then when it's showtime, Krishna just, he has fun with us. Okay, so that's the title slide of the whole series. And there's Srila Prabhupada. Do you know where he is? New Vrindavan, USA, where I was living when I got initiated. But this is 1972. Okay. Here's the story. The year is 1972, before most of you were born, right? In Vrindavan, USA, it is Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day. I was sitting right about where Mataji is, right there, from Prabhupada. You see where he's sitting on that makeshift Vyasasana outside. It was at the top of a hill on a makeshift pavilion, and Prabhupada was seated on these crimson cushions. So I was right there. It is Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja Day. As the sun climbs to the meridian, that means the highest point, right? The zenith. The thick mist shrouding the West Virginia foothills gives way to a spotless blue. Inside a hilltop pavilion, hundreds of devotees and guests, politicians, journalists, and academics among them, have gathered to observe the 76th anniversary of Prabhupada's birth. It is to the guests especially that Prabhupada directs his address. So we had invited all these VIPs, academics, politicians, journalists. I mean, the New York Times was there, right? That's the biggest paper in America, maybe in the world. And WWVA, Wheeling, West Virginia, radio was there, and the local congressman was there. It was big. So there were about 900 devotees. This is a huge, biggest gathering of devotees to date, before it was in India. And then there were about maybe 100 VIPs. They were all crowded into this big, long pavilion the devotees built. But and we know what Vyasa Puja is because we're disciples. But Prabhupada, who's sitting there, he knows that these guests, they don't know anything about Vyasa Puja, so he's directing his whole Vyasa Puja address to them. Here we go. And these are the exact words. All right, so who's got the mic now? You want to take turns? Variety.
Ladies and gentlemen, of course, those who are my students, they know what is this ceremony. Those who are visitors, for their information, I will inform you something about this. Something about the ceremony. Otherwise, it may be misunderstood. An outsider may see that why a person is being worshipped like God. There may be some doubt.
I mean, America started because we ran away from a king in England. We didn't want, somebody playing a big, self-important leader. So he knows that these Americans, they're going to wonder, what is this guy sitting on this big high seat? What is this? And why are all these people offering flowers to him? This looks like a cult to me. So that's why Prabhupada said there may be some doubt. Doubt indeed. The 1960s and 70s have seen a spike in the number of opportunistic gurus coming to the West, streamlining Vedic revelation to suit modern tastes, and reaping the profits. To establish trust, Prabhupada begins to demystify the guru by connecting him to other gurus in parampara. A disciplic succession of authentic spiritual masters, descending from Lord Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The demystification continues. Who's got next?
On the top of the mango tree, there is a very ripened fruit, and that fruit has to be tasted. So if I drop the fruit from the up, it will be lost. Therefore, it is handed over after one. Then it comes down. So all the Vedic process of the knowledge is taken from the authority and it comes down through disciplic succession.
Well aware of modern aversion to authority, Prabhupada then compares the guru to that venerable American pedestrian, the mailman. Okay, it'd be nice if we had two mics, and then the Manajis could take turns too. All right? All right, Manaji, you're on.
Just like a post peon comes and delivers you, say, $100. So he is not delivering that $100. Your friend has sent that $100, and his business is to hand over that $100 as it is, without any change, without taking $1 from it. No adding, no addition, no subtraction. His honesty, his perfection is that he delivers you that $100 which is sent by your friend. He may be imperfect in so many other ways, but when he does his business perfectly, he is perfect. Similarly, we receive perfect knowledge from Krishna through the agency of spiritual master.
And the next section I call Guru is one, Gurus, plural, are different. The Guru as God's mailman. Actually, Prabhupada, he actually took it down to dog. He said the Guru is the dog of God. Yeah, it was really humble. The Guru as God's mailman, down to earth, yet out of this world. In this sense, all genuine Gurus are one, because they're all carrying the message of Krishna. Those Vyasa Puja guests who later read Prabhupada's teachings will learn how all genuine Gurus also differ. In the very first text, so this this script for this lesson is based on two things. Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja address in 1972 at New Vrindavan to the VIPs. And it's also based on the very first chapter of the Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita, which is called what? Anybody know in English? The Spiritual Masters. Yeah. In the very first text of the Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita, the definitive biography of Lord Krishna's golden avatar, Lord Chaitanya, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami begins by offering his respectful obeisances unto his many spiritual masters. So it's a Prabhuji turn.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto the spiritual masters, the devotees of the Lord's incarnations, his plenary portions, his energies, and the primeval Lord himself, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 1.1.
Okay, I should say you don't need to read the reference. Just read the quote, and then we can all see the reference. So there's an example. I'm, providing a reference for what I put on the slide. Okay, and you can just read the next two because it's on the same slide. The next one. Wait a minute before you read. In the book's introduction, Srila Prabhupada notes, okay?
He, Krishna Kaviraj Goswami, uses the plural here to indicate the disciplic succession. He offers obeisances not to his spiritual master alone, but to the whole parampara, the chain of disciplic succession, beginning with Lord Krishna himself.
Later in the book's first chapter, text 35, Kaviraj Goswami offers his respects to, quote, my initiating spiritual master and all my instructing spiritual masters. Prabhupada comments.
A devotee must have only one initiating spiritual master because in the scriptures, acceptance of more than one is always forbidden. There is no limit. However, to the number of instructing spiritual master one may accept. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science become his initiating spiritual master later on.
That's a very important sentence. Generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. We don't always do that in ISKCON, do we? We'll maybe talk about it during the Q&A. That last sentence indicates the natural, normal guru-disciple relationship, sustainable over time. Although Prabhupada was uniquely empowered to spread Krishna consciousness within a few years worldwide, it was worth noting that he entrusted the thousands of disciples he was initiating to the care of his local leaders and senior devotees. His budding, becoming like a bud is becoming a flower. His budding instructing gurus. Now, decades on, to glimpse how his movement's guru-disciple culture can become more local and sustainable, the way Prabhupada himself describes it, let's continue to examine his presentation of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita's foundational first chapter, The Spiritual Masters. So I call the next section, it's just more about initiating and instructing gurus. In the years since Prabhupada's passing, the spotlight on the initiating spiritual master may have led members of his movement to believe that to initiate disciples requires more qualification than to instruct them. In other words, that the Diksha Guru is higher than the Shiksha Guru. We may think that because of our history in ISKCON. Okay. Prabhupada knew how to use his hands to make different points. It's like mudras, right? You know, this and this and or this. He's like a maestro, you know. All right. I'll just read that last sentence again. In the years since Prabhupada's passing, the spotlight on the initiating spiritual master may have led members of his movement to believe that to initiate disciples requires more qualification than to instruct them. Okay, so it's a Prabhuji turn, yeah? Okay. All right, go ahead.
The initiating and instructing spiritual masters are equal and indicating manifestations of Krishna, although they have different beings.
And they play different roles, but they're equal and identical manifestations of Krishna. And then I say, in his comments to text 47, Prabhupada raises the point to a warning. All right, Mataji. Ready? Go ahead. Who's going to read? The right side.
By initiating and instructing.
No, the right. We just read that.
Okay. There is no difference between the shelter giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual masters. If one foolishly discriminates between them, he commits an offense in the discharge of devotional service.
Wow. It's actually an offense to consider the Shiksha Guru lower than the Diksha Guru. Categorically. I mean, individually, people may be more advanced or less advanced, but the idea, the concept, the category of a Shiksha Guru is an equal, identical manifestation of Krishna as the Diksha Guru. Okay. Of course, now I balance that. I balance it. Of course, the potential to have many instructing gurus does not cancel the requirement to accept initiation from a singular guru. We still have to get initiated. In his introduction to the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada writes, quote, "The connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. Without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed." Yeah. Rupa Goswami has this 9-step process, right? Adoshraddha, tataksadhu, bhajana. So we really want to go all the way to pure love of God, bhajana kriya, which is the phase in which initiation takes place. We have to do that. We have to commit. Oh, what do you know? The next section I call the power of commitment. Heavy with spiritual knowledge, all genuine gurus are teachers. At the same time, their impact on our lives varies according to the depth of their commitment to us. Again, from his commentary to text 34, Prabhupada says, okay, whose turn? All right.
Guru is plural in number because anyone who gives spiritual instructions based on revealed scriptures is accepted as spiritual master. Although others give help in showing way to beginners, the Guru who first initiates one with the Mahamantra is to be known as initiator. And the saint who give instructions for progressive advancement in Krishna consciousness are called instructing spiritual masters.
Yes. So then I say, notice in that quote from Prabhupada, the progressive commitment from introducing, as Prabhupada says, although others give help in showing the way to beginners, like who showed the way to Prabhupada? Who introduced him? Narendranath Mullik, right? But to my knowledge, Naren never joined the Gaudiya Math. But he was a kind of guru for Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, he dragged me. I didn't want to go. Because I'd seen too many so-called sadhus. My father used to feed them, and then they'd go outside and smoke bidi, and they were simply begging chapatis. They weren't giving spiritual knowledge. So that's there's the Vartma or Patapradarshika Guru is the introducing guru, right? Notice the progressive commitment from introducing to initiating to instructing. Whoever instructs us the most is naturally more influential in our lives. As we noted above, quote, generally, a spiritual master who constantly instructs a disciple in spiritual science becomes his initiating spiritual master later on. That's just the way historically it worked. Unquote. Even when the guru doesn't say a word, the guru was always teaching, especially by example. I mean, some people in our generation were convinced about Prabhupada's authenticity just by seeing the way he, did you ever hear stories about, if you read the Lilamrita, who's read not just the one-volume Lilamrita, but all the multi-volume Lilamrita? Okay, you see not so many, less than half. I mean, you've probably read the one volume, right? The paperback. That's okay, it's something. But if you really want to get a full taste of the nectar of Prabhupada, his pastimes, his teachings, you got to read that 7-volume or whatever, the multi-volume presentation. So in the volume called Planting the Seed, where Prabhupada is starting the movement in New York City at 26 2nd Avenue, they were dirt poor. There was no money, right? So Prabhupada's prasadam distribution in the beginning was somebody would give like a piece of fruit, right? Or like an apple. And then after he spoke, he would cut the apple into slices, right? And then he would have somebody distribute the slices. That was the Mahaprasad. And in the meantime, first of course he would take a slice and relish it. And then he would turn, and there was a sink in the corner, and he would spit the seed, and it would go right into the sink. So all these hippies were like, wow. Hey man, did you see that? Far out. Yeah. I mean, in the very beginning of the movement, Prabhupada, he was Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra all rolled into one. It was just him. So, that's extraordinary. So, then I say, even when the Guru doesn't say a word, so he didn't say a word, he just spit a seed into the sink, and people thought, wow, he's mystical, who could do that, right? The Guru was always teaching, especially by example. The most powerful teacher. Example is better than precept, and actions speak louder than words. I have a godbrother, a late godbrother. You probably have heard of him, Vishnu Jan Swami? Okay, maybe you've heard his kirtans on recordings. I mean, this person could sing and dance Hare Krishna all day long. He was like not an ordinary person. So anyway, he was in Mayapur in 1975, and he got inspired that, people here, they love kirtan, and he loved kirtan. So Vishnu Jan said, Srila Prabhupada, I would like to take one of those little boats, get a little boat and go down the Ganga and stop in all the villages and chant Hare Krishna with the villagers. But I don't speak Bengali. I don't speak Bangla. So Prabhupada, he just laughed. He said, oh, they don't care what you say. They just want to see how you behave. Achar is more important than prachar. Actions speak louder than words. Okay, so the next section I call, well, it's a quote from what Prabhupada said. It's back to the New Vrindavan Vyasa Puja address, and the quote is, "So you, every one of you, become guru." He's telling this to people. The oldest devotee in the movement was a 6-year devotee. Right? And he's telling us all to become gurus. All right. So, there's another shot. It was beautiful. It was New Vrindavan, full bloom, green. It was September 2nd, 1972, Saturday. Janmashtami was on September 1st, Friday, that evening. That's another whole pastime of what happened then. But the next day was Vyasa Puja. Jai Sisimitai Gauranga. For the devotees listening to Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja address, their appreciation of his unique position is increasing. Let me just make sure I'm not... Oh, okay, somebody's supposed to read this, sorry. Whose turn? Okay, you ready, Mataji? Okay, here we go. No?
For devotees listening to Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja address, their appreciation of his unique position is increasing. Seated on the throne at recent days, Prabhupada is the Guru of Gurus, a master at whose feet all the masters sit.
Keep reading.
Although their commitment to him is as green as their summer surroundings, his commitment to them is timeless, and his ongoing request difficult for most of them to imagine become Guru.
Green as their summer surroundings. You know what green is? It means immature, like an unripe mango. So we were all just rank neophytes. And he's telling us to become a guru. I mean, we're just trying to recover from the 60s, right? Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And we're, I'm trying to be a brahmachari, and, somebody else is trying to be a brahmacharini or grihastas. Okay. In the Sri Chaitanya Chaitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 7, text 128, this, Devamirana Maharaj brought this up yesterday in class, a Kurma Brahman. Lord Chaitanya famously tells the Brahman of Kurma, Yare dako tarekaha Krishna upadesh Amarabhyai Guru Hanya Tare Desh. Quote, instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Sri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In this way, become a spiritual master and try to liberate everyone in this land. Unquote. So believe it or not, that was, well, I'll just read. Listen to this. As recorded in the Bhaktivedanta Vedabase, in hundreds of lectures, morning walks, room conversations, letters, and public and private events. I mean, Prabhupada even said this in press conferences. Prabhupada cited the above verse as a reminder of the Lord's request, become Guru. From the beginning through the middle to the end of Prabhupada's global ministry, these reminders to his followers were relentless. Here are 2 examples. Who's next? Okay, Prabhu. Read that.
I want that all of my spiritual sons and daughters will inherit this title of Bhaktivedanta, so that the family transcendental diploma will continue through the generations. Those possessing the title of Bhaktivedanta will be allowed to initiate disciples. maybe by 1975, all of my disciples will be allowed to initiate and increase the number of generations. Numbers of generations.
That is my program. You see how expansive view of the parampara Prabhupada was. Okay, there's one other. That was a letter to Hansaduta, and here's another one. Just keep reading.
So you, every one of you, can become guru. You may say that I am not interested to become a guru, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that if you are not interested, that is not very good. You should be interested. You must be guru. That is the success of your life.
He said that to a group of householders in Tehran when it was still the Shah. Shah of Iran, before the Ayatollahs came in, and they're again in crisis over there. Okay, so, all right, and now the next section is called Strictly Follow. Okay, who's reading now? All right, let's see. All right, not yet. We're getting there. Prabhupada anticipated that some of his leading disciples, Prabhupada anticipated this. You know, like what happened after Prabhupada left our vision was kind of chaotic, to say the least. Prabhupada anticipated that some of his leading disciples, out of immaturity, might try to imitate his unique position as Jagat Guru, a universal teacher. At the same time, his relentless reminders to become genuine gurus indicate a greater concern. So Prabhupada knew, oh yeah, some of these guys are going to probably, they're going to think that they're the new founder Acharya or something. But he had a greater concern, that in their supreme esteem for their founder Acharya, his followers would not mature to become gurus in their own right. Prabhupada's called regular gurus, regular. And shelter others in Lord Chaitanya's mission. How then would Krishna's mercy reach every town and village, as the Vedic scriptures had foretold? And how would every sincere aspirant receive the personal care and guidance they would need to make the challenging journey home, back to Godhead? In his writings, therefore, Prabhupada made it clear that the most important qualification to become a guru was to strictly follow the instructions of Guru and Krishna. I mean, we're in every continent except maybe Arctica, and even some devotees did visit Antarctica a few years ago and left some books. But we're hardly in every town and village. I mean, who's going to go to Novosibirsk in Siberia? Who's going to go to some little village in Chile? I mean, or even in India, where you folks have, saturated a lot of places. The movement is so prestigious in India, but still, you're not in every town and village, right? But that's what Pritibhiti Achayata Nagaradi Gram, right? Nagaradi Gram. Chaitanya Bhagavat. So we got a long way to go. Okay, so the last thing I said was the only qualification to become a bona fide guru is to strictly follow. We're going to give you some evidence for that. And Mataji's going to read. Yeah? She won't read? You know English, right?
No.
Okay.
A person who is liberated Acharya and Guru cannot commit any mistake. But there are persons who are less qualified or not liberated, but still can act as Guru and Acharya by strictly following the disciplic succession.
Yes, and this is way in the early days. This is April 68. I mean, there was only a few centers still. Prabhupada wrote this to a person who was an academic who became a devotee named Janos Dambergs. Janos Dambergs became Janardhan. So it's in a letter. So then I say, and for those who only accept what Prabhupada wrote in his books, we have this passage. Because in the letter, he said you just have to strictly follow, right? You don't have to be you don't have to be a Mukta Purush. You don't have to have 4 arms or walk on water or produce gold, or some ash, as Prabhupada would joke. Okay, so, and for those who only accept what Prabhupada wrote in his books, we have this passage. Okay, Prabhuji, here you go.
Although a follower may not be a liberated person, if he follows the Supreme Liberated Personality of Godhead, his actions are naturally liberated from the contamination of the material nature. Lord Chaitanya therefore says, by my order, you may become a spiritual master.
And
one can immediately become a spiritual master by having full faith in the transcendental words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and by following his instructions.
Yeah, that's in the 4th canto. So if I only accept the books, Prabhu. Letters are bogus. No, here it is. It's right in the book. Okay, and then we're getting toward the end here, which is good because we're coming up to. One need not be a superman or a superwoman to be a regular spiritual master. Liberated or non-liberated, a guru is genuine if he or she, quote, strictly follows the orders of Guru and Krishna. By Prabhupada's reckoning, his movement today likely has more local gurus than its own members recognize. I bet there are some authentic gurus among you, right in this room. Yeah. They simply need to be formally approached for guidance and formally encouraged to give it. As Prabhupada told his disciples in Hawaii, quote, we require many millions of gurus. And he gave a formula of how that was to be done. Actually, he gave that in Mayapur, that was in 76 in Honolulu. But in 75, Prabhupada said, we need 10 million acharyas. And then he said, so if whoever's initiating, makes 10 disciples, and then those make 10, and 10, 10, 10, he was just multiplying. A very expansive notion or view of the parampara, how it's going to spread. All right. Back to there we go. There's another photo of Prabhupada on that high seat. Let's see if pens scribbling, because there were no devices in those days. It was just people taking notes, right? The New York Times and the radio people and the politicians and the academics. Pens scribbling, cameras rolling. His American guests listen to Prabhupada close his Vyasa Puja address. As he looks into their eyes, Prabhupada is concerned that they've correctly heard and understood his message. All right, you ready? Okay, good. You got the last word, Mataji. Boom.
So this is a position of a spiritual master. Don't misunderstand that. The person is sitting very comfortably and taking all honors and contributions. It is needed just to teach them how to respect and representative of God, the representative of God. This is the sum and substance of Vyasa Puja. Thank you very much.
I remember the way Prabhupada. Thank you, Allah. we all went, And then you know what happened? Prabhupada gave this beautiful address, right? And then, you know how Janmashtami Vyasa Puja is the most austere 2 days because of fasting and feasting, right? So So then, next to Prabhupada, like you see where in the slide Prabhupada's sitting, if you, to his left, or if you look at the slide, to the right of the slide, on the stage, there was Radha Damodar deities, and then there was Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, and then next to them, it was a long platform. There was a huge cake, a huge birthday cake that the New Vrindavan ladies had taken days, to build. I mean, it was gigantic, and it was the length of the stage. So Prabhupada said, "Thank you very much." And then he got off the seat, and behind that, the backdrop to where he's sitting, there's a Volkswagen waiting to take him away to the cabin where he was staying, in a very simple cabin that I lived in the previous year. And so as soon as Prabhupada left, there was, of course, it was a big kirtan, which Prabhupada got, "Thank you very much," and then he got down and we all, Hari Bol, and then was a big kirtan. And then the kirtan ended, and then it was just us and the cake. And we were famished, right? So this is, what to say, I don't know how to, again, we were out of control, ex-hippies. So we just, recovering. So we just charged the cake. And I remember specifically charging a corner of the cake where the icing had bunched up. I wanted a piece with a lot of icing. And so I grabbed the corner and I tucked it under my arm, like an American football. And I was determined to enjoy this cake. The enjoyer, like Maharaj was saying yesterday, we're all trying to be the enjoyers. So, but other brahmacharis, in quotes, had seen me grab this choice piece of cake, with all the icing, and they wanted it too. So they started chasing me. Now this pavilion, it sat at the top of a hill. So the only way to go from the pavilion was down the hill. So they caught me and they tackled me. There was a few of them, And so then we rolled down the hill. And then I was on the bottom and the cake was under me. So the cake was just powder. Who ate the cake? The ants ate the cake. They got the cake. Meanwhile, Prabhupada's going back, and this was going on all over, the cameras are still rolling. Prabhupada had just given this beautiful address, and then his out-of-control disciples gave the purport. The purport is, go for the cake. So my godbrother, late godbrother, he just passed away in the last year, Nanda Kumar Prabhu. He had driven Prabhupada back to the cabin, and then Prabhupada said to Nanda Kumar, "I saw some cake." "Oh yes, it's at the pavilion, Prabhupada. I'll go back and get some cake." So he drives, the 2 miles back to the pavilion, goes up, and what does he see? There's not a smudge or a crumb of cake left. Some humans probably got some cake, but mostly the ants ate the cake. So he thought, "Oh my God," He tells us on a Prabhupada memory too. So he goes back to the cabin. He runs in, and he goes, "Srila Prabhupada." He didn't know. He didn't want to. He was afraid to say it. He said, "The devotees ate your cake." So Prabhupada, he's so tolerant. He said, "That's all right. You bake another one." Now, I did not know this. Every time I teach this seminar, I learn more and more things. So there was one person in the audience who knew, who was there also, and because Nanda Kumar took it literally. I didn't know this. So he asked some Mataji and she made a cupcake, a little cupcake. But it was a cake, it was something. And she just ate it real fast, and then she gave it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada really appreciated it. He relished the bhakti, the devotion. All right. So since we had a little time, it's not even 9, I had to give you that not everybody hears about the cake part. This lesson to spiritual masters, right? Okay, so here's how we do the question and answers, because, let's see. So I say, because Prabhupada said, thank you very much, and then I said, and thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for caring enough to come and save us. And then it's Prabhu's, before we hear your questions and comments, let's review the main, what I call learning outcomes. And, in teacher lingo, learning outcomes for this first lesson, the spiritual masters. So here we go. And I think one person can just read them.
She wants to read.
You want to read the learning outcomes?
I'll take a screenshot by she forgot her spectacles.
You can do that if you want. But again, this is all in the note. Did I tell you about the notes? Yeah, it's all. I'm going to give Acharya Prabhu the notes, and all this is in the notes too. So no worries. But you can take a picture if you want. Whatever. Okay, Mataji, you want to read? Just read the... Is it there? Yeah, it's there. Lesson 1. Read it. Are you going to read it?
Lesson 1, the spiritual master, the learning outcomes.
Learning outcomes.
Yeah. By now we should be able to.
And again, probably you forgot, but maybe not. But here's what we learned.
Explain how Srila Prabhupada demystified the Guru.
We should know how he did that.
Explain how Gurus are one and different from each other. Explain why we may misunderstand an initiating spiritual master to be superior to an instructing spiritual master. Explain why Srila Prabhupada wanted all his followers to become gurus. Explain how even non-liberated devotees can act as gurus. Explain the real meaning of Vyasa Puja that Srila Prabhupada gave at the end of the narrative.
Don't misunderstand. Do not misunderstand. Okay, so I'm going to open it up now. Okay, let me, because sometimes we get so absorbed in the Q&A that we forget the transition. So the next, that's something I read. Okay, it's a transition to tomorrow's lesson. All Vaishnav, guru-disciple relationships thrive under the shelter of the founder Acharya, the foundational spiritual master of a disciplic branch. In the next lesson, we'll examine the origin, history, and characteristics of the founder Acharya principle, with a focus on our own Gaudiya Vaishnav line. So it's called the founder Acharya principle. That's tomorrow's lesson. Okay. And you have, for the sake, this is being recorded, right? So you should not ask your question until you have a mic. Okay. Does anybody have any? Oh, I saw his hand. You were first yesterday too, I remember. Weren't you first yesterday with Maharaj? And he said, you know that.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. So I just had, in the discussion you mentioned that instructing spiritual master and initiating spiritual masters are the identical representation of the Supreme Lord.
I have an American ear. So from my ear, you're speaking really fast. So you got to speak slowly because...
So in the discussion, you're mentioning that initiating spiritual master and instructing spiritual master are the identical representation of the Supreme Lord, and there is no
Equal
difference.
and identical.
Equal and identical representation. So I just little curious about what is the special significance and relevance of accepting initiating spiritual master. Because
Okay, I tried to balance that. I mentioned it. Let's go back to that. Oops. Yeah, it wasn't on a slide, but that's good. Did everybody understand the question? If Shiksha and Diksha gurus are equal and manifestations of Krishna, then why do we need an initiating guru? Is that your... Okay, so here's what Prabhupada says. Yeah. So I say first, of course, the potential to have many instructing gurus, and Kaviraj Goswami says this. I have so many instructing gurus, but he had one initiating guru. Who was that? Anybody know? No. Yes, Nityananda Prabhu. It's not the, who does he honor at the end of every chapter? Rupa Raghunath, right? But they were two of his it sounds like they were his main instructing gurus. But he was initiated by God, by Lord Nityananda. But yeah, anyway, okay. So, of course, the potential to have many instructing gurus does not cancel the requirement to accept initiation from a singular guru. In his introduction to the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada writes, so this is what Prabhupada says in NO.
why is it so? And that's my question.
Well,
What's the need?
Let's see what Prabhupada says. Okay? Quote, the connection with the spiritual master is called initiation. From the date of initiation by the spiritual master, the connection between Krishna and a person cultivating Krishna consciousness is established. That's when it's really just like we were fiddling with the chord, but then we finally, got it in. And then there was a connection, right? Without initiation by a bona fide spiritual master, the actual connection with Krishna consciousness is never performed. Wow. And we'll see, I'm giving away, well, this comes up it's going to come up Thursday. How Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj. And later he told us, he said, I accepted him immediately. And after Srila Bhaktisiddhanta defeated him, his Gandhi argument about we need Swaraj, we're a captive country. And then Bhaktisiddhanta defeated him. And then Prabhupada, he was struck with wonder because nobody had ever defeated him before. Prabhupada said, I was always the leader of my group. And no one had ever, but then it was defeated. But he was so happy to be defeated by, a real sadhu, not a so-called sadhu, but a real sadhu. And then Prabhupada said, I accepted him immediately as my spiritual master. Not officially, but in my heart. And then how many years before he took Diksha? 11. In Allahabad, right? Prayag. Yeah. So and that was part of his journey. That was part of his, development, his Leela, showing that you actually need to do that. I mean, he was reading Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's books. He was making contributions, right? He was living in Prayag pharmacy, Day's pharmacy, living as a householder. And he was, I think, a Tulananda brahmachari. Yeah, he was the leader there. He was giving contributions. When they showed up at Prabhupada's pharmacy in 1928, right? Oh, Abhay Babu, we hear that you're very nice Vaishnav, and we hear you're a very capable person, and we're here to establish a mutt for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's Gaudiya mutt. Can you help us? So Prabhupada was very pleased. Oh, yes, sure, I'd love to. Prabhupada was very intelligent, of course, and he knew so many people in town. He turned them on to wealthy people and pious people. And then as he got more involved, he was sometimes singing bhajan, at the mutt. Everybody loved his singing. And then he went to, I'm giving away the whole lesson anyway. But we do need to go from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha to Bhajana Kriya. That's where initiation happens in Bhajana Kriya, when we actually commit. Now, of course, just like I joined in 1970, in July in Boston, Massachusetts, where Prabhupada landed on the Jaladuta, in an old temple. It was a former funeral parlor where they take bodies. Those are the kinds of places we got in the early days. 26 Second Avenue was just a little hole in the wall. Anybody ever been there? Right? It's just a little hole in the wall, But it's where Prabhupada started his whole worldwide movement. And so when I joined in 1970, 4 years later, all the devotees could afford would be these rundown places where nobody would want to buy. A former funeral parlor, you can imagine, haunted like anything. I never encountered a ghost until I joined the Hare Krishna movement, and there were so many ghosts. People were hanging around this place that they had left, they had died, and they were attached. So I eventually got transferred to New Vrindavan, and so after about a year, by July 71, Kirtanananda Swami said, "You're ready for initiation because you're following the 4 principles, and you're chanting 16 rounds, and you're serving very nicely, cooperatively. You're helping us establish this project." So Prabhupada wasn't coming to New Vrindavan that year, so we drove up to Detroit, Michigan, where they make the cars, the Motor City. So I was practicing. I was in Bhajana Kriya, and so he said, he was the leader, and he said, "You're ready." Oh, okay. And that's where that's where I exchanged my only words with Prabhupada, when he initiated me. Otherwise, I kept my distance because Prabhupada was like a roaring fire. It was, and if you didn't become like on fire with Krishna consciousness like him, you it was like you get burned, So anyway, but when Prabhupada initiated me, that's a whole. But I'll just tell you the part where he initiated me. So what are the 4 rules? And how many rounds? And in those days, maybe you've seen pictures or films. Prabhupada, he's chanting there's so many beads on the microphones. Maybe you've seen. Yeah. So Prabhupada would take the beads and he would chant a round. He would bless the beads by chanting a whole round on your beads. So we got a lot of rounds done, because Prabhupada was chanting. And then he would come to the end, and then Prajumna was his Sanskrit editor, so he would call the name of the person to be initiated. Richard Hall. That's how I was born. So I heard my name, and I came up and I bowed before Prabhupada. And what are the 4 rules? How many rounds? And then, but kneeling, it was the closest I'd ever been physically to Prabhupada. And just being, I was actually a little closer, because he wanted to hand me the beads, right? But first he wanted to give me the name. So he said, "Your name is Sureshwar, means Brahma, controller of demigod." Now my name means Sura Ishwara. You contract them and you get Sureshwara. So it means a controller. So he didn't want me to misunderstand that I was the controller. Right? So therefore, when he picked up he took the beads, he said, "You are Sureshwar." Da. He really drew out the da, see? Da. And he held out the beads, but I was so stunned, because when you looked at Prabhupada, you couldn't even fathom what you were looking at. It was like a vision of somebody from out of this world. We never saw anybody like Prabhupada, right? And at the same time, as you hear the devotees say in the memories, he's looking right through you, all your lifetimes of karma and, material desires. And so that combination was so stunning that I was literally frozen. I was like, das, he said, da. And so he saw that I couldn't move. So he started, where's my beads? Yeah. Well, these are not my initiated beads. Most of us lost our original beads on traveling Sankirtan. So he took the beads and he just held them out and he started rattling them in front of my nose. Come on, take your beads, come on. So he snapped me out of it, rattling the beads in front of my nose. It's like, so I gathered the beads and I just sort of crawled away in that direction. And the first thing I said was, "What's my name?" So, oh, Prabhupada's so kind, huh? All right. So I was following, but still, it's like love and marriage. A boy and a girl, they like each other, but you to make it a commitment, you got to get married. Like the Prabhupada said that too when he found us. When he found boys and girls living together. When he went out to San Francisco, Guru Das and Jamuna, and Malati and Shyam Sundar and Mukunda and Janaki. Well, they had been married actually in 26 Second Avenue. He agreed to initiate them if they got married. Not like cats and dogs. You can't live like cats and dogs. So the commitment has to be there. You have to commit, and it's a very powerful thing. When you're in front of the sacred fire and the deities and the spiritual master, it's a big samskar. It's a big impression. It's not inconsequential. It's I'll never forget. How and my initiation happens to be on tape. So. That's how I remember the words. So it's very important that we make a commitment and then follow through, and then keep watering the creeper. Don't just take initiation and then, okay, business finished. I got my guru, and Prabhupada would say, don't make the guru a fashion. Don't make a show bottle of this. Yeah. So, is that okay? All right. Good question. How are we doing? 9:12. We got 18 minutes until the belly is going to start complaining that this class has gone long enough, Prabhu. It's time to honor prasadam. Anyway, why don't we try a Mataji? Did you have any Mataji's questions? You were first yesterday, too. Is this like a pattern here?
I was last, bro. I was last.
You were last?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was the other lady.
Mm-hmm. So, thank you so much, Prabhu, for this wonderful session. And I've shared to many in my circle so that they can attend online, those who are not here. So, it was mentioned there that the initiating spiritual master and the instructing spiritual master are the ideal manifestation of Krishna.
Wow, again, this is a big thing, huh?
No, we agree with that. So, Prabhuji, like sometimes what happens now in our generation, in some group it is said that you have to just hear from your initiating spiritual master. You should not hear from other spiritual masters. So that creates groupism.
Right. Guru groupism, right?
Yeah. So because there can be many Shiksha gurus, but even from our within ISKCON also, it said like some not everyone, but some says that you have to just hear your own Guru Maharaj. Don't listen from other Guru Maharaj. So can you clarify?
Sure. Yeah. Well, by that logic, you shouldn't hear from Prabhupada, right? He's not your initiating spiritual master. What is that? That's why we have to understand, and you will understand more and more as we go through Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, that Srila Prabhupada is our foundational spiritual master. Everybody's. I have the same identity as you do. He initiated me, but it's more important that I follow his instructions. He lives forever by his divine instructions, and the follower lives with him. So, we need to, Prabhupada, when he had those first pandals in Bombay and Delhi, and he was having his own disciples address those ladies, Jamuna, Malati, and people. Yeah, he wanted to show how nicely they were becoming Krishna conscious. And it's not just for Indians, it's not just for Brahmins by birth, and this is universal. So he had my god sister Koshalya. He knew, was it Koshalya? Yeah, it was Koshalya. He knew that Koshalya had memorized the shlokas to Isopanishad, the 18 shlokas and the invocation, Om Purnam. So he had her recite that. And the Indians were like, this white woman knows Isopanishad, and we forgot this. And we're all hankering to be like Americans. But these Americans, they've seen the whole thing of it. They're fed up with it. They're materially, they weren't happy. That was Prabhupada's strategy, right? You want to imitate Westerners? Imitate these Westerners. You've forgotten your own culture, the whole history. Yeah. So Prabhupada, he would have us give class in front of him. Because Srila Bhakti said, there's a nice piece. Where is this? I forget where it is. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He writes, and darn it, I can't remember it's always good if you get the reference, but he said, a guru should not be known simply by don't know a guru by the number of disciples he makes. Know a guru by the number of gurus he makes. So that's why Prabhupada was saying to us, you have to be guru. Yeah, that's how it's going to go to every town and village. Don't just collect disciples, in other words, but train them to make other disciples. Yeah, we saw that in the letter to Hansa Duda. Maybe, what did Prabhupada say in that letter? Maybe by 1975, all of my disciples will be initiating. And he didn't say he'd be gone either. And sure enough, he wasn't. But we were so neophyte, we weren't ready. We were still very, very unripe mangoes. Yeah. But that was the vision. So now I get so worked up, I forget your question. Did I answer your question? What was the question again?
Prabhupada and are initiating spiritual master, but not from the other present spiritual masters in ISKCON.
Why not? They're reflecting, see, all the other spiritual masters in ISKCON, if they've taken initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, they're reflecting Prabhupada's teachings. We're all connected through Prabhupada. He's the Jagat Guru. So why not? I have a god brother, I don't know if you know him, Krishna Kshetra Swami? Yeah, he's very nice. He's an American from California, and he joined in London in 1972. And he he was initiating as a brahmachari. He's a scholarly person, and he's very strict with himself and liberal toward others, a classic Brahminical type person. So I once asked him, because this was 2014, he had just taken sannyas, and I said, so when you initiate people, what do you tell them? Because I started teaching this founder Acharya in 2012. Actually, it was Bhakti True Maharaj, who was the co-chair of the Srila.
Friends, with this initiating spiritual master, actually, we call the counselor also a Shiksha Guru. The counselor who is taking care of us, we call him a Shiksha Guru. Some days that is correct, some days it's not correct.
Something what? I didn't miss.
Some people still, even though it was made clear from the authorities that any person who is giving you classes, like our contemporaries, is not a Shiksha Guru, because it's clearly mentioned that Shiksha Guru should be at the level of Diksha Guru, because it happened in the past, like we get connected and hooked to our counselor, and after some time counselor leaves ISKCON and he carries everyone with him. So, clarity on that.
Yeah, stuff happens, right? It's tough to have a spiritual movement in the material world. What if your guru falls down? Ooh. Anyway, Prabhupada, he created an international society for Krishna consciousness, and it's not, there's always people. Yeah. This is addressed in Srila Narahari Sarkar Thakur's, what is the name of that work? Yeah, Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita. He talks about this. What happens if the spiritual master leaves? What happens if your guru, if he starts acting weird, or he starts saying weird stuff, or, Well, first you should confront him, not publicly embarrass him like on social media. Now everybody's got a platform and they're spewing their anger all over the place. And confront the spiritual master. So the spiritual master either can enlighten you about how what he's saying or doing is okay, is good, and you have to be convinced of that, not just bullied, right? Or the spiritual master can admit, yes, I have a problem, and you have detected that. So it's a whole. I'd have to go back and look at that. What options to do? I think one is that you pray for your spiritual master, because he's not, he's not necessarily beyond that. I mean, Srila Prabhupada is on the highest levels of Krishna Prem. He is beyond that. But a regular guru, or even we'll see in the lesson 3. Yeah, lesson 3. Prabhupada called, he talked about ordinary guru. Ordinary. What? Ordinary? I thought the spiritual master was not an ordinary man. Anyway, we'll see starting the next lesson how there are different levels of gurus. So, since I don't remember too clearly Sri Krishna Bhajanamrita, I don't think he mentions anything about reinitiation. I don't think he does. Yeah. You read that book, huh?
I just got it somewhere. I read the course. The reinitiation is not allowed still. Like once initiated, we can.
Yeah, you have one spiritual, one initiating guru, and you have unlimited instruction gurus.
So it just mentioned, Prabhu, that if that happens, then we can still take shelter of other Shiksha gurus within ISKCON, and Srila Prabhupada is always there. I know Bhakti True Maharaj told me that, in the 80s, because there was so much imitation of Prabhupada's position, and it was so offensive, and there was reaction. That's why there were so many guru fall downs in the 80s and 90s. People would approach him, Bhakti True Maharaj. Oh, Maharaj, my Guru Maharaj left, I feel bereft. And so he would try to explain to them that, look, when your Guru Maharaj, when he initiated you, he was following, he connected you to Prabhupada and the whole parampara. You're connected. You're in the current of Gaudiya Vaishnava parampara. Don't worry. You don't need to be reinitiated. So, but if the person, Bhakti True Maharaj told me, if the person or persons, maybe it was a husband and wife, they took from the same person, if they still felt so, depressed and paralyzed practically, then Maharaj would say, okay, I will do this for you. I will give you shelter in a ceremony if you like, but just know that it's not actually necessary. But if I don't do this for you, if you're going to just give up Krishna consciousness, then okay, I'll do it. Right. So he would give them shelter. I mean, he was the most founder Acharya conscious person I ever met, Bhakti True Maharaj. He was always talking about Prabhupada's position, and that's why he insisted that I do this. So, yeah. So what's going on? Are you done or no? But the question was like, take weight our contemporaries as Shiksha gurus. So Shiksha guru and counselor, is it the same?
Well, it depends. I mean, like Maharaj even mentioned about Sannyas Guru yesterday. He said it's as, what did he say? It's as, can be as close or as distant. What were the words he used? Locally.
Most easily available person in the local.
Yeah. It was a formality. It wasn't even, Huh? Yeah, marriage priest. Yeah, like. We have songs about that in America. Yeah, whoever's local, Yeah, so, no, I forgot again.
So Maharaj said that for the sannyas guru, but for the initiating spiritual master now is quoting, if your initiating spiritual master is giving you some instruction,
Yeah.
and then you try to escape by saying, I will ask my Shiksha Guru. So you say,
Yeah, that's another nonsense, right? People play gurus off each other. You know, like, okay, my guru said this. It's like getting another opinion from another doctor, right? Okay, you say I got stage 3 cancer. I wonder if that's true. Let me go to another person. Now, if they all say the same thing, you can be pretty sure that you're hurting. You need to do some, some program of recovery. Right. But sometimes people go to gurus, and if the guru doesn't take the time to know your position and your motives and why you're coming to him, or who even your Diksha Guru is, then that's not good, right? I mean, yeah. So you have to know. I know a person, speaking of counselors, I know a person who's initiated by Radhanath Maharaj. And then this person's from Ireland, a lady, very, in Ireland, they're all heavy Catholics. So she calls her ashram in Galway, Ireland, Swami Jesus Ashram. Because this is what Prabhupada said in the Lilamrita, that when Prabhupada was staying with the what are their names? In Butler, Pennsylvania, what were the names of the? Agarwals, yeah. So there was Bridge Agarwal, right, the little boy who was, you've seen the pictures of Prabhupada helping him stand and his eyes are bugging out, and then Pamela Agarwal said that Swamiji is just like Jesus. Swami Jesus. This is what Sally wrote Prabhupada. My daughter is calling you Swami Jesus. So that was a precedent in this Radhanath Swami disciple's mind, that I can name my, ashram, Swami Jesus Ashram. So anyway, she was, when I came, I was there twice in Ireland teaching founder Acharya. And so I said, and she was having a hard time, And I said, well, I'm surprised you're having a hard time, because I know even though Radhanath Swami's got so many disciples, he's got this, he started a counselor system. So everybody can, because he's got so many disciples, he can't personally take care of all of you. So he's got people who, it's like a layered thing, right? This. And then she just rolled her eyes and shook her head. She said, yeah, but my counselor doesn't understand me. He's from he grew up in India, and he's in a very traditional way, and I'm not like that. So she was trying to make me, her new guru or something, right? I said, look, you can't do that. You gotta. Krishna has. You took initiation from Radhanath Swami, knowing full well that you weren't going to have personal access to him. He doesn't have just 10 or 12 disciples. He's got thousands, right? So you've got to take responsibility for that. And so, and because we had a close relationship, through Mayapur, I used to see her every year, her and her husband in Mayapur, this German fellow, Bhajendra. And they both took initiation from Radhanath Swami. He didn't have a problem, but she did. So she, when I told her, you've got to just accept this and make the best of it. So she said, okay, Prabhu. And then she did. She took it to heart. So, and then she has other, I think also, what happened was she expressed to her counselor how she was having trouble relating to what he was telling her. So he said, oh, no problem. So I have other people we can, it's not just me. It's not a personality cult here, so we'll work on it together. And I see him over time. So there's only time for 2 questions, but don't worry. We don't worry, because we revisit. Whatever your question is, I guarantee it's going to come up in We only make, there's a few, I only make a few real points here, and I make them over and over and over again from different angles, from different situations and different, ways. So don't worry, Prabhu. You, if by the end of tomorrow's lesson I haven't, answered your question, then you're first in line.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
So Prabhuji will be continuing his seminar for the next 4 days till Friday. So I request all devotees if they can attend, and all your questions, everything, if you have, you can note it down, and we can answer.
And you will get the student notes. And also, I'm an email guy. I still get letters from people that I gave this seminar to, 10 years ago. You can always write me up. SURESVARA.
We will put it in the WhatsApp group. I'll put.
Well, then, I'm going to give the notes to Acharya Prabhu. He has my email. Yeah. At gmail.com. It's pretty simple. So yeah, I'm a email guy, reader and a writer. So. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you all come back. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If you come back, I know it was all right. Hare Krishna, take prasad.
His Grace Sureshwar Prabhu ki.
Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki. Gaur Premanandi.